If you're looking to learn football skills, lots of them, you've come to the right place, as in this episode you will get a step-by-step tutorial for 35 unique skills. Now, there's a bit of everything for all skill levels, and you can skip certain parts by checking out the time codes in the first comment. But we highly suggest watching through the entire thing, which is gonna start right now with
3 beginner skills that everybody can learn. Let's go! Number 1, let it go. This is one of the coolest looking and easiest skills that exist because you literally don't even have to touch the ball. The scenario for this one is that you're about to receive a pass with enough power from your teammate, but instead of controlling the ball yourself, you're actually gonna let it go towards your teammate who's in a better position than you are. Now, you can either just simply let the ball go through your legs while standing still, or you might be in an attack, running forward with your teammates, and bam, you're gonna run over the ball like this one. There are tons of ways you can pull off the skill. But make no mistake, while the move itself is extremely easy, being successful with this one and spotting the opportunity in advance is where people either fail or succeed with this one. So make sure you check your surroundings and know where your teammates are before you just let the ball go and you end up looking like a fool. So aim to be one step ahead up here in your brain, and you've already done the most difficult part of this skill. Number 2 is the step over feint, which is another personal favorite of mine that I can absolutely recommend to players of all skill levels. Now, the scenario with this one is that you're close to the sideline, attacking this way, and you're about to receive the ball from your teammate. But at the same time, there's a defender rushing towards you. Now, after receiving the ball, bam, and controlling the ball, you're simply gonna make an inside step over, making the defender believe you're actually gonna go this way before, bam, changing direction and going the opposite way. Let me repeat one more time. The ideal window of opportunity for this skill is when there is indeed a defender rushing towards you, because when the player is coming towards you with a lot of pace, even the smallest misstep from his side will make him lose balance, bam, and you get to go your way just the way you want to. And my last tip to make this already easy skill even easier for you is to make sure that you make the inside step over, bam, with your strong foot, because that enables that you can actually tap the ball with your strong foot, so potentially you don't even have to use your weak foot at all. And that's about it. Another great and easy skill that I'm sure anybody out there can learn. Number 3 might look a little bit difficult and advanced to a lot of the beginners out there, but I can assure you that once we slow things down a little bit, all of you guys will learn this skill in no time. Now, when you start practicing, you want to have the ball directly in front of you, take your weak foot and put it in front of you like this. And the next thing you're gonna do is jump with your standing foot, tap the ball a little bit towards your weak foot that's already in front of the ball like this. You can already see where we're going with this one. Once you feel comfortable tapping the ball, we're obviously gonna add the actual step over into the mix as well. And how that's gonna work is quite simple. Instead of going entirely around the ball with your weak foot like this and placing your foot down, you're actually gonna stop the step over halfway and again leave your foot in front of the ball like this. And after that, you're simply gonna do the thing that we just practiced. Half step over, jump with your standing foot, bam, tap the ball and go the opposite way. It really is that simple. Once you get the hang of the mechanics and how your feet are actually supposed to move, I promise you, all of you guys out there will learn this skill in no time. And once you feel comfortable with all the basics, you can start making everything a little bit more fluent and advanced. Basically, what you want to do with this skill is step on the ball with the sole of your foot, drag the ball back and simply turn 180 degrees and run away from your defender. If you're watching football on TV, you can even see the world's best footballers pulling this move off in almost every single match. Yet, it's some of the most basic things you can do while playing football. Trick number 2 is the no-look pass. Did you see what I did there? I was looking. Anyways, what you want to do is while running with the ball, you spot your teammate with the corner of your eye, you quickly glance back at the ball and you look the other way before passing the ball. This is a cheeky move. Your defenders will probably hate you for this, but the crowd will always have a show. You ready? And my skill number 3 for today is the Ronaldo jump. Now this skill looks extremely cool and flashy, but let me tell you a secret. It's actually not that difficult to pull off and master. Essentially what you just want to do is hit the ball with the inside of your strong foot through your legs while jumping like this. And a good way to practice this skill is exactly what I'm doing right now. You're just standing still with the ball in front of you. You jump up, whoop, bring your strong foot a little bit out to the side and hit it hard. Run the opposite direction. See you! So today's skill move is called something along the lines of V-drag roll. And the greatest thing about this skill, in my opinion, is that you can pull off the entire skill only using your strong foot. So if you're a little bit insecure and uncomfortable controlling the ball with your weak foot, this is the perfect skill for you. Now obviously this move is very much inspired by street football and futsal, but trust me, you can also find great use for this skill in 11-a-side situations. And basically the things you need in order to pull this skill off is fast footwork and great balance. So let's look into the skill. Step number 1 is understanding what your body is supposed to do in order to pull off this skill. And I like to start with the ball in front of me without any defenders around and taking it extremely slowly. Now, as the name suggests, we are trying to make a little V shape with the ball. And to pull that off, start with the ball in front of you and drag it across your body. Stop it again with your strong foot, pull it back and boom. Tap the ball with the inside of your strong foot to go to the opposite direction. You want to get comfortable with this movement, standing still, nice and easy, just repeating the movement so it starts to become automatic and becomes a part of your muscle memory. Now repeat this a couple hundred times until it feels natural, and also do keep in mind that there are 2 ways you can actually do this skill. You can either take your first touch with the inside of your foot before stopping it again and dragging it back, or you can simply roll the ball with the bottom of your foot like this. Now you want to get comfortable with both movements because they both have their own pros and cons. We're gonna look into a little bit later. Now, once you're comfortable with the basics, step number 2 is making the move more game-like. And we're gonna achieve that by using our body more aggressively and actually jumping a little bit while doing the skill to sell the effect even more, like this. Now, a great way to understand how the jump is supposed to work is starting off the movement nice and easy, like this, stopping the ball, and then just simply taking a little step with your weak foot like this. Once again, you wanna start slowly. Tap the ball, stop it, take a little jump step like this. It feels a little bit awkward at first, but believe me, you want to get comfortable with the mechanics and build up the pace as you get more comfortable with the movement. Again, the reason you want to implement both the jump and using your upper body is because this is not half as effective as this. Wow! Last but not least, using the jump and your upper body also helps you protect the ball because you're actually putting something physical between you, the defender, and the ball, instead of the scenario where the ball is just out in the open for the defender to catch. So, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, you can either take the first touch with the inside of your foot or simply using the sole of your foot to roll the ball. And I just quickly want to go through both examples. In my personal opinion, taking the first touch with the bottom of your foot like this, the advantage with this one is that it kind of makes it seem like you're losing control of the ball for a short period of time before taking the ball back again like this. On the other hand, if you take the first touch with the inside of your foot like this, In my opinion, it makes the upper body movement a little bit more aggressive, and it almost makes you feel like you're just nice and easy going this way in a slow motion like feeling before rapidly going off to the opposite direction. So long story very short, try to play with both variations, both the bottom of your foot and the inside of your foot variations, to see which one you think can help you more in game situations. Skill number 1 is what I like to call the double trap. And basically this is a combination of an inside and an outside step over. Now, the goal with this move is to make your defender believe that you're just going for the simple inside step over turn. But instead, you also all of a sudden whip out an outside step over and rush back to the opposite direction. Now, practicing this move is extremely easy, and I like to start right here with the ball comfortably directly in front of me. Take your strong foot, make an inside step over, and use the same foot to make an outside step over before tapping the ball slightly with the outside of your weak foot. Now, what you want to do in the beginning is get comfortable with the movement. Make sure this feels natural, and when you feel comfortable and understand how the movement is supposed to work, we're gonna add some movement to the ball as well. So, start by rolling the ball very lightly, and do the same movement. Repeat this a couple of times, and that's essentially it. As you get better with the move, you can start making it more game-like, you can start adding pace, but essentially you want to be able to pull off the move with the ball moving with you as well. So once again, roll the ball, inside, outside, tap. Now there are a couple of extra key things you want to keep in mind. Number 1, don't run too fast. If you run too fast, you're gonna lose control of the ball, so don't run too fast. Number 2, use your entire body. This skill will never work if you're standing up like a statue like this. You can see how awkward that looks, and you don't want to be that guy. Instead, you want to use your entire body to sell the effect even more and make sure your defender gets off balance, especially with the second outside step over. You seriously want to turn your entire body and your chest this way to make it more believable. Trust me, this is gonna make a huge difference. Look at the difference. Nobody's gonna fall for that trick. Instead, turn your entire chest this way before rushing to the opposite direction. Like this. Skill number 2 is what I like to call the pullback, and it looks somewhat like this. Now, this move is extremely effective when you're caught up in a tight situation, maybe close to the sideline or the corner flag, and you need to create a little bit of space for yourself to maybe clear the ball or simply pass it on to your teammate. Now, practicing this move is once again very easy. We're gonna start with the ball in front of us and put our strong foot over the ball. You're gonna roll it back, tap it slightly with the same foot, and bam! Bring your weak foot out, stop the ball, roll it back, and go back to the opposite direction. Once again, roll the ball, tap it, stop it, pull it back, and go. You want to repeat this circle a couple of times with small movements to get comfortable before we can move on to more advanced scenarios. Now, the goal with this move is to make your defender, who's potentially standing right in front of you, to come and reach for the ball. And because of that, you want to stop the ball as far away from your body as humanly possible, which is going to make it extremely difficult for him to follow you with your movements. And lastly, if you really want to take this skill to the next level, make it a lot flashier and more entertaining to the crowd, you want to add the no-look aspect, which would look like this. Whoa! Now, personally, I don't recommend trying this out in the game because the chance of you losing the ball and looking like a fool is extremely high, and you don't want to be that guy. But if you are considering doing this in the game, first step is to be able to do the movement repeatedly without looking at the ball at all. If you're not comfortable doing this, don't even think about trying this out in the game. But yes, the no-look variation definitely looks cool, and I know a lot of you guys out there love flashy moves, so, you know, wow! You can consider adding the no-look to make this even more spicy.
So, the basic idea behind all the skills in this episode is for us to fool the defender by drawing him extremely close to us. We pull off our skill and get rid of him. And we're gonna start with the skill that I like to call the CRUYFF and turn. This skill is obviously a combination of a simple CRUYFF turn and a little drag back with the bottom of your foot. And the scenario could be that you're in the center of the park looking for places to play the ball. There's a defender coming in on you and you need to create a little bit space for yourself in order to, for example, bam, provide a nice pass to your teammates. And the way we're gonna achieve that is by using the CRUYFF turn as our bait. We're gonna make the CRUYFF turn so slow and obvious that every single player on the pitch can see it coming. Now, the reason we wanna make the CRUYFF turn slow and obvious is because we wanna try and make the defender adjust his run, because if he's running towards you with a lot of speed, even the smallest change of direction for him is gonna be bad time. And we're gonna try to take advantage of that by making, once again, slow CRUYFF turn, bam, and a quick drawback, and then you can continue your way to the opposite side. Now, it's worth pointing out that when you're getting ready to perform the CRUYFF turn, you already wanna turn your body a little bit ahead of time. That way, you have an easy access to the ball and you can quickly perform the change of pace and move on to the opposite way. So make sure that when you're about to do the CRUYFF turn, you already, bam, place your standing foot pointing this way. That way you're naturally in a better position to drag the ball back. And the best thing is that if the defender completely falls for the first CRUYFF turn already, you might as well continue the game this way and forget about the drag back. But in short, slow and obvious CRUYFF turn, change of pace, and you're good to go. Next up, we have the drag back, which is definitely a skill especially Sergio Busquets has mastered throughout the years. This is yet another great move for changing direction and completely shifting the weight of the play from one side of the pitch to the other. And the skill itself is extremely simple, and you can pull the whole thing off by only using your strong foot. You simply just wanna roll the ball back and tap the ball again with the inside of the same foot in a roundabouts 90-degree angle like this. Now, this is another move where we really want the defender to come close to us. And the beauty of the drag back is that no matter if the defender is rushing towards you with all his pace and power, the move itself is so aggressive that it doesn't matter if he's standing right next to you. He's not gonna reach the ball because of the extremely aggressive drag back. And then it's up to you to bam, change direction fast and move the game to the opposite side. And what this skill really comes down to is calm and collectiveness. You really need to let the defender come close to you, whether he's right next to you on this side, he's closing in on you from in front of you, it doesn't matter. You need to let him almost uncomfortably close to you for this move to work in the most optimal way. So all in all, unlike with the slow and obvious CRUYFF turn we just previously learned, with this move you wanna be aggressive and explosive. And to make the drag back even more effective, you could even add a little fake pass or a simple body feint to once again fool the defender even more. The last skill is actually a small variation of the drag back, and we might as well call it the fake drag back. And the goal with this one is very simple. We try to make the defender believe you're actually gonna go for the drag back we just learned. But instead of changing direction, you're actually gonna tap the ball, bam, back to where it originally came from. You're gonna continue your game this way and leave the defender behind. Now, the key here is to turn your entire body, bam, with the ball before tapping it this way, because by turning your body, we're actually gonna make the defender think you're gonna continue the game this way before you change direction
and leave him in the dust. And just like with the slow, obvious and fake CRUYFF turn, with this move, with the fake drag back, we wanna be obvious and slow up until the point where you tap the ball again, and then you wanna be aggressive and use all your pace and get rid of the defender. Someone like this. So with all the three skills, CRUYFF and turn, the drag back, and of course the fake drag back, you have a nice little arsenal of skill moves that you can use to get rid of defenders when they're intimidatingly and uncomfortably close to you.
Here goes Messi.
Still with Leo Messi. Wonderful footwork from Leo Messi.
First up is the shoulder drop, a classic move where you fake going one direction by dropping your shoulder to that side to get the defender to react, to try and block your path going that way, only for you to quickly change direction and run away to the other side. Now Messi is a bit of a master at this because he understands that the movement needs to be so quick that once the defender lunges, well, you're basically already gone in the other direction, like this. Another thing Messi does, which is gonna scare the life out of defenders, is his absolutely frightening change of pace, where he's gonna get the defenders to slow down in speed and stand a little bit on the back heel, only then all of a sudden to explode away, leaving them in the dirt. Now this means that the defender always has to react and is thus gonna be a few steps behind Messi, or in this case, you. And this also means that the defender is gonna be on the back foot, and since he has to turn around in order to really chase after you, it gives you a major advantage. So as long as you're a little bit fast, it's gonna be no problem. Just remember to run at the defender only at a speed where you know you have an extra gear of acceleration, so you always have that little extra something to explode when you get close to him, like this. Lastly, Messi is the undisputed king of the quick first steps, because not only does this allow him to have a quick change of pace, but it also means that he's extremely agile, because this automatically keeps him running on his toes. And if you do this combined with his, to be fair, pretty awesome technique and touch on the ball, it really allows him to react very quickly in small areas and weave through defenses, making it a lot easier than if he did big, chunky, and clumsy touches. You don't want none of that.
So, today's skill is essentially an inside elastico that basically you're gonna pull off as soon as you receive the ball as your first touch. Now, I have a bit of a bad knee and I'm by far not the most fast or explosive player, but if you are at least a little bit rapid and have quick first steps, this skill is almost match made in heaven for you. In a couple of moments, we're gonna look into how to effectively bring this skill to game situations, but before that, we have to go through the technical information. So, I've broken this skill down to only two very simple components. We have the inside elastico and of course your body movement. And started off with step number one. The inside elastico is basically you tapping the ball with the inside of your strong foot, followed by a quick touch with the outside of your foot. It's as simple as that. And my best tip for all the beginners out there is for you to make sure not to let your foot hit the ground in between the two touches. That's gonna make everything a little bit more sloppy and awkward. So make sure to just keep your foot in the air, nice and easy like this, and let it just naturally flow through the ball. And once you feel confident and secure about the inside-outside touch, we're gonna move on and add some body movement and momentum behind the skill. Now, how this is gonna work out is that as you tap the ball with the inside of your foot like this, you're gonna take a little jump step with your standing foot. The reason we wanna do that is that we wanna get our entire body behind the ball, which will then give us momentum and force for us to speed off to the opposite direction. And this is the exact same reason why I think the inside elastico is much superior to the outside elastico. Because with the outside elastico, as you tap the ball like this, you are actually leaning this way and you wanna go here. Whereas with the inside elastico, as we just learned, as you come here, bam, lower your center of gravity your entire body is behind the ball and you're just naturally gonna push off to the opposite direction. Next up, let's look at how to implement this skill into game situations. And in my opinion, the ideal situation and setup for you is that you, as the winger, are next to the sideline attacking this way. This happens to every winger in every football match. Your teammate is passing you the ball, and while that happens, there's a defender closing in on you. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna use the defender's move against him by making him believe we're actually just gonna take our first touch and continue the game towards our own goal before all of a sudden, bam, rapidly going to the opposite direction. There's a couple of things you need to be aware of. Number one, try not to receive the ball with your back completely towards the defender, because that will make the inside elastico very tricky to pull off. Instead, you want to position your body sideways like this, attacking this way, and you can actually have your chest turned a little bit more towards the opposing goal. Number two, awareness. Make sure you know there's enough space behind the defender who's rushing in towards you that you can enter. You don't want to have another opponent there who's just gonna steal the ball as soon as you enter the area. And number three is for you to at least consider taking a slightly bigger touch with the outside of your foot to give yourself even more room to sprint behind the defender. Bam! Especially if you're a fast guy. So today's skill is all about creating space for yourself and getting the defender off balance before you actually even touch the ball. And we're gonna do that with a very smart and effective body feint. Now, the scenario here is that usually the ball is gonna come towards you sideways. It's coming to you laterally like this. And what you're gonna do, as the ball approaches you, you're gonna whip out a little body feint and go the opposite direction. And the goal with this move is to make your defender believe that you're just simply gonna take your first touch right here where the ball is actually coming from. But instead, you whip out the body feint and go to the opposite direction. Remember that the goal with any skill actually is to get your defender off balance. You wanna make him move and take that small misstep which will give you the advantage. And a body feint, as you already know, is just a bulletproof way to do that. Now, on the technical side, this skill is obviously very easy to pull off. Basically, the only two things you want to do is take a small step like this to the direction where the ball is coming from, and of course, sell the effect even more with your upper body movement as well. You guys already know all about body feints. We've covered many variations on our channel, and I'm sure all of you guys, balance and coordination wise, can pull this off. But this first touch skill is the most effective when you nail these three things: awareness, reading of the ball, and reading of the game. And that brings me to my next point, which is the common mistakes. And the number one thing I see a lot of people do wrong with this move is not checking their surroundings and not being aware of what's happening out on this side, where you want to go with your first touch after the body feint. In order to make this skill effective, you absolutely must look over your shoulder before receiving the ball and making sure nobody else is covering this area, because if you fail to check your space around you, you might be able to fool the first defender in front of you with the body feint, but there might be some other guy coming to steal the ball, and that's not a good look for you. Common mistake number two is not reading the ball well, especially when the pass is coming to you very strongly. If you're receiving a strong pass, as you can see, it's gonna be extremely difficult for you to control the ball. And in many cases, if you receive a very tough pass from your teammate, you do the body feint, the ball is just gonna keep rolling, and obviously you're not gonna be in control of the ball. And in 95% of the situations, it's a very dangerous thing to do when there's a lot of defenders around you. So make sure to check your surroundings, read the game well, and read the ball well. Now, the pro players mostly use this skill in the attacking third of the pitch because most likely the defenders are going to be closer to you when you're getting closer to their goal. But before you can do that, you want to practice, and you simply can do that by doing exactly what I've been doing in this episode. You can bounce the ball off a wall or go out with a friend. That's basically it. Technical side is very easy with this skill. You're basically just doing a body feint, but in order for it to be automatic and come from muscle memory in game situations, it takes practice. So get a ball, bounce it off the wall, ha, and do some body feints. Yes, yes, yes! So, the start-stop-start is all about trying to create space for yourself with a simple but very effective movement. Now, the difficult name to pronounce is actually something that my coaches back in Finland used, and basically the name reveals what the move is all about. You first start your movement, running to one direction, you stop, and then you rush off again, running to the opposite direction. And actually, the best way to showcase this is to bring some friends out. My dear homie J-Mike here is gonna act as the defender, and my boy Anders with the ball is gonna be my teammate. Basically, you can do this movement in two different directions. You can either end up going towards your teammate, which would look like this. Hey! Boom. Or you can end up trying to get a through ball, which would obviously then look somewhat like this. Yes, yes! Now, it's pretty obvious what this move is all about. Basically, you start off leaving the area where you're more or less gonna end up, and once you suddenly change direction and rush back to the same spot, you're now running back into empty space, which is something you absolutely want to do when you're trying to receive the ball from your teammates. And the best thing is, while doing the movement, as you can see, you're dragging the defender with you at all times, which makes it a very difficult one for the opposition to deal with. Yes! So, where on the pitch should you try and do this? Based on my experiences, this move is mainly done by wingers or other offensive players trying to get a nice through ball and cause some damage to the defenders. Because keep in mind, the closer to the opponent's goal you get, the closer to you the defenders are. And keep in mind that you need the defender close to you in order for you to drag him with you and make this move work like magic. Could look like this. Yes, yes, yes! As we learned previously, you can either do the move to end up coming towards your teammates, or you can try and get a nice through ball for yourself. But in fact, if you're smart about it, you can even do some small variations of the run by not making the distance of your run so big. For example, this move works wonders in throw-in situations. You're leaving the area, all of a sudden you come, make yourself available, and you're ready to go again. The key thing to keep in mind is that with this movement, you are trying to fool the defenders, not your teammates. So actually, to pull this off, you need to communicate with your teammates. Let me give you an example. Back when I played in Finland, both in our individual training sessions and as well our team training sessions, we were actively practicing this move. So more or less, all the players were aware of this move potentially coming off in a game situation. Because actually, when you think about it, it takes a whole lot of efforts from the guy with the ball to not give you the ball when you make the first part of the movement. So if your teammate gives you the ball in the first run, you can't just get angry at him. It's your and your team's responsibility to be educated. You are trying to fool the defenders, not your teammates. Yes! So this move is basically a body feint combined with a sudden change of direction, all happening within a very short amount of time. And basically the goal with this move is the same as with any other skill move. You're trying to create space for yourself by fooling the defender and getting him slightly off balance. Now this move is mainly done by midfielders, and in 90% of the potential scenarios, the ball is going to come towards you laterally. It's coming to you sideways from probably your fellow midfielder or a winger. And as the ball approaches you, before you actually even receive the ball, you're gonna shift your body and make it turn this way, the opposite way, to make it seem like you're just naturally gonna take the ball with you and continue the weight of the game to the opposite side, before suddenly, at the very last second, as the ball just hits your area, you're gonna tap it back with the inside of your strong foot, change the direction and rush back to the direction where the ball originally came from. And to sell the effect even more, after tapping the ball, you might even want to finish the body feints by taking an extra step before rushing to the opposite direction. Just make sure that the ball doesn't go too far away from your reach. Now, this first touch is the most effective when the defender is rushing towards you, trying to read and anticipate your next move. So with you, facing your body this way, as the defender is coming towards you with a lot of pace, he will hopefully believe you will actually just continue the game this way. And remember, as he's running with a lot of speed, even the smallest change of direction for the defender is gonna take some time. So with him having to adjust his run after you fool him with your body feints will hopefully give you that small advantage you're looking for. But even in a more stationary situation, this move might actually work wonders, because the whole body feint in itself is extremely effective. A common mistake with this move is actually turning your body too early, which will obviously, as you can see, ruin the entire effect we are looking for. But even more so, you never want to pull this skill off just for the sake of doing it. In order to master this and make it effective, you always need to assess the situation. Think about it. For the pace of the game, would it actually make more sense for you to shift the weight of the play and go to the opposite side, or pull off this skill and go back to where the ball originally came from? Unfortunately, there is no black and white textbook answer for this question, so you, as the midfielder, will have to learn this by doing. Luckily, there's a very simple way of practicing this move, even if you're at the pitch all by yourself, without any defenders or friends, just like I'm here today. And the way I like to do this is basically having the ball right here underneath my weak foot. You roll the ball back, turn your body, and get comfortable with the very basic mechanics of the skill. Now this is great as you actually get used to turning your body, tapping the ball, and you can even practice the extra body feint step and getting comfortable with that one. And once you're more or less familiar with the very basics of this skill, you can start bouncing the ball off a wall, turning your body, and getting comfortable of how the whole move works in a more match-like situation, like this.
5 ways to pass the ball. Let's go. Well, that was a quick intro, and we're gonna kick this off with the RABONA, which is a skill that can be seen quite often even at the highest level. And my best tip for you to start practicing RABONA is to bounce the ball from a wall to yourself and then shoot the RABONA, because it makes it a lot easier for you to put some power and air on the ball. Now, some people out there will tell you to shoot the RABONA with a toe poke like this, but I would stay far away from this style, because shooting and toe poking the RABONA makes it very difficult for you to generate any power to a ball and lift the ball off the ground. Instead, you want to use this part of your foot right here, and in a way drag the outside of your foot on the ground when shooting the RABONA. This also makes your body positioning to change completely. You can see the difference. If you're gonna toe poke the RABONA, you're gonna be standing like this, but if you're gonna do it the right way, you're gonna be positioned a little differently, like this. Again, start by practicing by yourself by kicking the ball to a wall, and once you get more comfortable with the technique, it's time to start experimenting with the RABONA. Number 2 is the lob that you can use to, in a way, scoop the ball over the head of the defender. And pulling this off is extremely simple. Step 1 is to place your toes under the ball like this, and after that you simply just wanna scoop the ball in the air like this, get some momentum behind the ball before releasing it. Now, this skill is especially useful when you're caught up in a tight situation and need to come up with a creative way to lift the ball towards your teammate. And another great feature is that the lob is actually pretty easy for your teammate to receive and control, because usually the lob doesn't really have any difficult spin on the ball. And although the end result might look a lot like chipping the ball, these are two very different techniques, because when you're chipping the ball, you are physically kicking the ball, whereas with the lob, you're just whoop, scooping the ball off the ground. And this exact thing makes the lob very easy skill to execute and quite an unexpected way of passing the ball. Number 3 doesn't have a name that I'm aware of, but I'm just gonna go ahead and call it the roulette. This is one of my personal favorites that's still pretty useful in real life game situations. Now, this is essentially the Marseille roulette combined with a pass, and executing this is somewhat easy as long as you understand the mechanics of it. You want to start off with the ball in front of you and stepping on the ball, let's say with your weak foot. You're then gonna roll the ball back while turning your entire body and then bam, stepping onto the ball with your other foot. Now, the rule of thumb here is that if you start the move by stepping onto the ball with your left foot, you need to turn your body, your left shoulder first, like this. And vice versa. If you start off by stepping onto the ball with your right foot, you're gonna turn with your right shoulder first. And lastly, since we are trying to pass the ball to our teammate, you might wanna add extra power to the pass by taking the second touch with your heel instead of rolling the ball with the bottom of your foot like this. That makes sure that the ball will go all the way to your teammate. Number 4 is the back pass. And let's be honest, this is not a skill you're gonna be using very often in real life game situations. But it might just happen that there is a high ball approaching you, you then wanna whoop, turn your back and tap the ball a little bit like this. Now, the risk of failure is pretty high, so I'm not sure this is something you should spend a whole lot of time practicing, but hey, if you wanna entertain the crowd, go with the back pass. Once again, I have absolutely no idea what this last one is officially called, but I'm just gonna take the freedom to name it the stepper. And for me at least, the first player that comes to mind when thinking of this skill is CR7, who has pulled this skill off time and time again throughout the years. Now, to pull this skill off, you wanna start with the ball in front of you, you step on the ball with your weak foot, and you take a little hop step with your standing foot while simultaneously letting go of the ball and afterwards tapping the ball with the inside of your foot. It can sound a little bit confusing, but it's extremely simple to pull off, and it looks like this. Honestly, this is one of the coolest looking skills that's also one of the most simple ones to learn. And once you get the hang of it, you can try and start mixing it with all kinds of cool looking combinations. And it's a pretty cool way to try and catch the defender off guard. Now, the mindset of this skill is that you can either use it as a really cool way of flicking the ball up, or you can lift the ball with your heel over yourself as well as your defender, if you happen to have the defender right on the other side of your back. And essentially what you just want to do is roll the ball back with your weak foot, lift it up with the inside of your strong foot, and once again heel it over yourself with the heel of your weak foot. And if we take all the steps a little bit closer, you want to start off by having the ball in front of you, underneath your weak foot, and you want to roll the ball back and immediately step across your body with your weak foot like this. Now, why you want to do that is pretty simple. You are basically positioning yourself as well as your body for the next step of the skill, which is of course you flicking the ball up like this. And what you want to make sure is that you actually lift the ball high enough off the ground so you can get the right angle to heel the ball over yourself. Think about it. If you end up heeling the ball in a position like this, well, we can everybody see that my heel is pointing in this direction and we want it to go over our bodies. So we need to be in a position like this. You want to lean over a little bit and have your heel pointing this direction, which obviously makes sense with the basic laws of physics. And if we combine all the steps, you should end up with a skill that looks like this. Defender on your back, lift the ball up, and go. Now, the skill number 2 is actually one of my favorite football skill moves of all time. And while I mainly use it as a flick up move, if you have the balls to pull this off against an opponent and a defender,
you are a proper bowler. Now, just like with the previous skill, we're gonna start off with the ball underneath our weak foot in front of us. But unlike with the first skill, where we step across our body after rolling the ball back, this time we're actually gonna roll the ball through our legs like this, before moving on to the most important step of this skill, which is flicking the ball up with the toes of your strong foot behind your butt like this. Now, what you wanna do, I'm gonna demonstrate this sideways to you guys. You roll the ball back, like I just said, you let the ball go over your butt. You flick the ball up with your toes in the air and perform this weird scissor kick like this. You roll the ball back, flick it up, and immediately heel the ball over yourself. And just like with the previous skill, you wanna make sure you are leaning forwards while preparing yourself for the heel strike, because just like we learned in the previous skill with the laws of physics, if your heel is pointing there, the ball is going to go over there, and we are trying to make the ball go over our heads. So you need to lean forward and heel the ball in a position like this. And when you put all the pieces together, you should end with a skill that looks like this.
Step number 1, positioning. For this one, you actually don't need the ball because you're going to figure out what side you are going to juggle on. Personally, I juggle on my right side, but it's a matter of preference, so it's up to you to figure out what side you want to juggle on. And also, you need to keep your eyes peeled on your heels and on the ball at all times. So start off by trying to figure out what side feels more comfortable for you, and then we can go to step 2. Step 2, first touch. Just like regular juggling, heel juggles is all about getting that right timing, the right touch, and a lot about repetition. So start with the ball in your hands and drop it down, get a heel touch, and back up comfortably in your hands. Now, repeat this 1.5 million times with both feet individually so that you got it on lock. It is very important that you figure out exactly how the ball bounces up when you do a specific movement, and you want to have the same height of the ball on every touch. Step 3, juggling. After you're comfortable heeling the ball with both feet, start adding more juggles into the mix by throwing the ball up and this time heeling it twice before catching it again. From there on, as you get better and your confidence grows, challenge yourself to continuously break your own record as you make progress. There are a few common mistakes that you should know before you get into heel juggles. The first one is the height. You need to be able to control the height. You don't want to get it too high, you don't want to get it too low. You get it too high, then you might be having difficulties controlling the ball. Even for a pro like me, that might be difficult. Another thing is the eye contact, or rather the lack of eye contact, because you need to keep your eyes on the ball at all times. If you don't look at the ball, you will lose control immediately. And lastly, you want clean heel touches. Some people actually do heel juggles on the side of their foot, but then all of a sudden, it is not a heel juggle anymore. It is a side of the foot juggle, and that's not what we want, because it adds a little bit of spin, and quite frankly, it's not as stylish as a regular heel juggle.
It's the knee panna. It's easy. All you gotta do is put your knee on the ball, wait for your opponent to lunge, bring the ball out to the side, back through his legs. When you start the movement, make sure your foot is next to the ball and you put your knee down so the side of your foot can directly hit the ball as soon as you stand up. If you put your knee forwards down, there's nowhere you can go. You must have the foot next to the ball. The Kuwait panna, invented by Pava from Kuwait. You bring the ball behind you, back around, a little bit space from your standing foot. You're gonna push hard on the ball and back through the opponent's legs. You're gonna push out quickly and bring it back in through his legs. Is the bomb-proof panna. You step on the ball with your weak foot, bring the ball back with your foot, you're gonna roll it forwards. Now, because the ball comes rolling forwards, the opponent thinks he can take it. So again, You switch side with the ball, from one side to the other, like we did with the knee panna. Step on the ball, push back, switch through his legs.
Today, we're gonna learn 2 skills that will make defenders dizzy. Let's go. First up, we have the jump flick, which can look a little bit advanced, but don't worry, I promise I'm gonna help you figure this move out. Now, the basic idea behind this skill is to make the ball go from around the defender and you go from the opposite side somewhat, wow, like this. Now, unfortunately today I don't have a defender with me, but you're gonna have to use your imagination. So, this skill is basically a combination of 2 main components. We have the actual flick up and of course the kick around the defender. But I also like to add a little roll before the flick up for 2 reasons. 1, it makes it a little bit more easy to actually flick up the ball, and 2, it adds a little bit more complexity and difficulty from the point of view of the defender, because the ball is moving from one side to another a lot before it ends up going around him. And to practice this move, since I like to do the flick up with my strong foot, we're gonna start with the ball in front of us, underneath your weak foot. You're gonna roll the ball back, flick the ball up with your strong foot towards your weak foot and simply kick it around the defender, somewhat like this. Wah, wah, wah. Now, a proper good tip here is to start everything slow and small, meaning that you wanna do everything standing still without any major big moves like this. Roll the ball, flick it up and kick it. Try and get comfortable with the basics of the move before moving on to trying to make everything big and flashy. Lastly, this move is especially great when you're trapped in a small space, probably around the corner flag or even in the living room with your little brother, because if you try to pull this skill off while you're running on the pitch, it's gonna make everything a little bit more difficult. Once again, roll the ball back, whoop, flick it up, make the ball go around the defender, and there you have it. Skill number 2 is the jumper, which at least in my opinion is a lot more easy than the previous skill we just learned. And in fact, I believe that even if you've never played football before, you can learn this skill as long as you possess the most basic coordination skills. Now, just like with the previous skill, we are still trying to make the defenders dizzy by making the ball go from one side of him before tapping it and running from the opposite side ourselves. And to start practicing, you wanna stand still and grab the ball between your ankles like this. Next up, we wanna make the actual jump, and I highly suggest jumping towards your stronger side. I'm more strong with my right foot, so I'm gonna be jumping to my right side. For you, it might be different. And from there on, it's actually extremely simple. Mid-air, you're gonna release and let go of the ball and tap the ball with your right foot to make the ball go to the opposite way, like this. Honestly, there's not much more else to this skill. You just wanna jump, release, and tap. Jump, release, and tap. And I believe, as I mentioned, anybody can learn this skill. You can practice in your living room, in your backyard, anywhere. And lastly, if you find this one way too easy, you can try and challenge yourself by actually turning around, whoop, and performing the move backwards. I promise you, this will make everything a little bit more difficult. And let me know down in the comment section below if you'd like to see a full tutorial about that move as well. Today, we're gonna learn 3 skills that will quite literally shock your friends, at least a little bit. Number 1 is the fake knee shot, which is a personal favorite of mine. Now, when performed correctly, this skill will make it seem like you're about to smash a volley right in the face of your homie, but instead, the ball is gonna come back to you, you're gonna be laughing, and everybody's gonna have a good time. In order to practice this skill, you simply wanna take the ball in your hand and swing your leg like this. Take your strong foot and just let it swing, and then just drop the ball and let gravity do its magic, like this. You're already gonna feel we're almost there. The ball is rolling,
hitting your toes and coming back to you. Now, instead of letting the ball just roll along your entire leg, you actually want to take a little touch with your knee, like this. So instead of letting the ball roll, we're gonna perform this skill in 2 touches. Knee, toes, back to you. The biggest mistake when performing this skill is actually taking too big of a touch with your knee, like this. This is clumsy, chunky, and no player is gonna fall for this. The whole idea is to do the whole movement, bam, as fast as possible. And lastly, when you feel super comfortable and confident about doing the skill, you wanna add that body movement into the mix to make it actually look like you are about to smash the volley, like this. Hop! Trust me, they're gonna fall for it. For skill number 2, I have taken the freedom to name this the toe lift scoop. And it's definitely the easiest skill in this video. Now, the scenario for this skill is that you're just having a good time with your friend, playing one-on-one, he's trying to take the ball away from you, and in between your little ground moves, you all of a sudden gonna whip out, wow, the toe lift scoop, and trust me, your friend is gonna take a step back. The simple reason why this skill works so incredibly well is that when your friend is trying to take the ball away from you, his eyes are locked in on the ball already, and he's probably in a little bit of a low position like this. And in that scenario, when all of a sudden, bam, the ball is coming towards his face, there's no way he's not gonna take a little step back. Obviously, the faster you can do this move, the better. The more effective you can be, the more your friend is gonna fall for it. So when you're practicing the move, try to find a good combination where you can all of a sudden, bam, do the whole thing in a fast motion. Trust me, this one will always work. Lastly, at number 3, we have the slapper that I'm pretty sure you bumped into at the training ground, during the warm-up, when playing with your friends. You already know the drill. And the basic idea with this move is that you're gonna kick the ball and slap it with your hand before it hits your friend. Now, the ideal setup for this skill is that you're gonna position yourself sideways, or at least in a bit of an angle towards your friends, because instead, if you're facing your friend head on, you're gonna make it difficult for yourself to reach and stop the ball before it actually hits him. When you're sideways, everything is a little bit easier while still being super effective. And the slapper itself doesn't require a lot of practice. You're simply just gonna kick the ball and try to stop it with your hand. And yes, this skill has probably the highest chance of failure out of the 3, because as simple as it looks, there might be a time when you actually miss the slap itself. The ball is gonna hit your friend, but it's still gonna be a whole lot of fun, although it's not the purpose of the move. So have fun practicing the slapper.
Clipper is basically using the inside of your foot as a cushion, catching the ball mid-air, following it down and flick it up. So in order to do a clipper, you need to have flexible ankles. And if you don't have flexible ankles, you just need to stretch. And this is one of the things that I used to do. It hurts a lot, but it works. But make sure you don't get injured, because this may inflict injuries on your ankles. Okay, enough chit chat. Let's move on to the actual trick. Step 1, catching the ball mid-air. So keep the ball on the side of your body, drop it down, catch it mid-air, bend your supporting leg like this, follow the ball all the way down. That was easy, right? So let's move on to step 2. This is actually the really easy part of the trick. You have the ball in the cushion. All you have to do is flick it up. And that is the trick. And if you actually need a step 3 just to make it easier for you, you can combine step 1 and step 2 to make step 3. But all in all, it's just doing a clipper. And there you have it.
friends or foes or family, over everything I'm realizing is certain things I just can't bring. Everybody and their mama think that they a critic. I can't help everyone, I gotta know my limits. I can deal with the snakes, it's just the rats I hate. Cobra smile, yeah, you sealed your fate. It is what it is, it was what it was. Just cause we blood, that don't make us fucking fam, cuz always bringing up the ocean till feel relevant. Now I'm Leonardo in the Revenant. You tried to put pressure on me to make me sink. That's why I cut the cord, you was the weakest link. The price of success, they rarely tell you that it's scary. Niggas in my circle throwing shots indirectly. It's hard to be friendly when everybody envy. I'd rather have 4 quarters and 100 pennies. Now even though you probably mean well, sorry I couldn't get no details.
And that's it for our detailed explanation on 35 different skills you can practice. If not now, as soon as possible when football returns. We wanted this episode to include a large variety of skills, as some players are only looking to have fun and learn new moves, while others might be actively chasing their first professional contract. And that means you might be looking for different skills than some other guys out there. But anyways, remember that for more videos about new skills and how to indeed learn them, you absolutely need to subscribe to our channel. And the last bit of advice is to always keep a close eye on our ultimate skills tutorial playlist, which includes way over 100 tutorials on skills you can start practicing. Anyways, hope you had a good time watching this episode, and with those words, I'm out.